The planet of Teriss VII was a bustling hub for intergalactic trade, a world where towering skyscrapers pierced the sky and ships from every corner of the galaxy docked daily. Yet beneath the gleaming lights and shiny facades, the poor and downtrodden lived in the shadow of the wealthier elite. The slums of the city were a place where hope had long since died, and survival was a brutal game. It was in these forgotten streets that the cries of a mother echoed, but no one cared. Mira, an alien of the Thalaxian species, sat in the filthy alleyway, cradling her child, Kael, in her arms. The young boy was frail, his blue skin pale from malnutrition, his breathing shallow. Mira's own green skin was streaked with grime, her clothes ragged from the harsh conditions she had endured. Her face, usually full of light, was now drained of all emotion, except for the pain that lingered in her eyes. For days, she had begged for food, for help, but the city's citizens turned a blind eye. No one cared. The rich who walked past her never so much as glanced in her direction. The system had failed her, as it had failed so many others. Mira had no choice but to keep moving, carrying Kael in her arms as her legs shook beneath her. She had tried to get medical help for him, but there was none to be found. The medical centers in the slums had long since been abandoned, and the high-tech hospitals in the city's upper districts were reserved for the wealthy and powerful. The cries of her child seemed to blend with the hum of the busy city around them, as if no one heard or cared. She had no one to turn to, no one who could offer even the smallest shred of kindness. As the hours passed, Mira slumped against the crumbling wall of an abandoned building. Kael had fallen asleep in her arms, his small body limp with exhaustion. Mira knew he didn't have much time left, and she felt a wave of helplessness wash over her. She could feel his life slipping away, and yet she could do nothing to stop it. But just as she was about to close her eyes in defeat, a voice interrupted her thoughts. "Hey, are you okay?" Mira's eyes snapped open. Standing in front of her was a human man, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing the uniform of a Teriss VII security officer. His name was Adam, and he had been walking home from a long shift when he had seen her sitting in the alley. Adam had grown up in the slums of Teriss VII. He knew what it was like to struggle, to fight for survival, and he knew that the wealth of the city was built on the backs of people like Mira. It wasn't right, but it was the way things were. Yet, as he looked at her, this alien mother and her sick child, something inside him stirred. He had seen suffering in his lifetime, but this was different. This woman, this mother, had been ignored by everyone. Her cries had been drowned out by the indifference of the world. But Adam couldn't ignore her. "Are you okay?" he asked again, his voice softer this time. Mira looked up at him, her eyes filled with both gratitude and disbelief. "My son, he's sick. I've tried everything, but no one will help us. Please, you have to help him." Adam's heart ached as he looked down at Kael. The child was so small, so frail. He could see the desperation in Mira's eyes, the quiet strength that had kept her going even as the world around her had abandoned her. He knelt down beside her. "I'll help you," he said, his voice firm. "I promise." Adam's promise was the beginning of something that would change not only Mira's life, but the lives of many others on Teriss VII. He didn't have much power as a security officer, but he knew people who could help. He knew the underground clinics where the poor were treated, even if the system refused to acknowledge them. He also knew that the city's ruling council had resources they hoarded for themselves. But there were those who had the power to redirect those resources to the people who needed them most. Adam took Mira and Kael to one of the clinics, where a kind-hearted doctor named Dr. Lyra offered to treat Kael despite the risks. It was a place that operated under the radar, where the city's wealthy elite never came, and where the city's forgotten were given a chance at life. Dr. Lyra worked tirelessly on Kael, using her limited supplies to stabilize the young boy. Mira stood beside Adam, her hand clutching his as she watched her son fight for his life. The hours seemed to stretch on forever, but Adam stayed with her, never once leaving her side. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Dr. Lyra emerged from the back room, a smile on her face. "He's going to be okay," she said. "He's not out of the woods yet, but the worst is over." Tears filled Myra's eyes, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, she allowed herself to cry. She cried for her son, for the life he almost lost, but also for the kindness that had been shown to her. She had felt invisible for so long, and now, for the first time, she felt seen. "I can't thank you enough," Mira whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Adam squeezed her hand. "You don't need to thank me," he said. "You just needed someone to see you." As the days passed, Adam continued to visit Mira and Kael. He helped them find a safe place to stay, far from the streets that had nearly claimed their lives. He used his connections to get Kael the care he needed, ensuring that the young boy would continue to recover. But Adam didn't stop there. He knew that the system that had allowed Mira and Kael to suffer was broken. He started reaching out to others in his network, talking to those in power, using his position to expose the corruption and inequality that plagued the city. It wasn't easy. There were those who resisted him, who wanted to maintain the status quo. But Adam's voice was strong, and he had the support of people like Mira, who knew firsthand the suffering caused by the system. Together, they fought for change. They worked to bring attention to the plight of the poor and oppressed on Teriss VII, shining a light on the inequality that had been ignored for far too long. Months later, Mira stood before a crowd in the heart of Teriss VII, speaking about her journey. She talked about the suffering she had endured, the isolation, and the indifference of the world around her. But she also spoke about the kindness of one man, a brave human who had seen her, who had cared for her, and who had changed her life forever. "The world may have ignored me," she said, her voice strong, "but one person saw me. And because of him, my son is alive. Because of him, I have hope." The crowd cheered, and Adam stood at her side, his heart swelling with pride. He had done what no one else would do. He had given Mira and Kael a chance at life. And in doing so, he had shown the world that even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, there was still light.